I have this card that I made, and I used the Honeybee Spring Birds. That's what it's called. This die set here has 2 birds. But for the background, which is what I want to work on today, I used some distress paints in some bright colors. People have asked me how I did this, so I wanted to do a little video showing you how I created it. I use distress watercolor paper whenever I use paint. This one is cold pressed, and it has a raised side and then a smooth side. I buy this in the bigger sheets and just cut it down. It's much cheaper to do that. So now I'll just show you what my process is. Basically, I like to just wet the paper. This is a smooth side. I just like to wet the paper where I'm going to be working. I just think it works out better that way. That way the paint won't start moving in any other areas you don't want. So you have to shake these up. I like to use this mat. It's a Tim Holtz replacement mat for his media mat. But you can use anything you want. I don't like doing it on the glass because it tends to stick to the glass when it dries. This is much easier to clean off when working with the paints. So I'm just going to be using the warmer colors first. The yellow, this pink color, I think it's picked raspberry. Yeah, picked raspberry. The yellow is mustard seed, and the orange is called carved pumpkin. So I just use this like this. I like to, the paints are already pretty thin, but I like to just wet them a little bit. I like to start with the yellow, and you can see that I just haphazardly put this on, and then I wet my paintbrush a little bit, thin it out. Then maybe I'll work with a little orange. When you're working with these colors, you don't really have to worry as much about them mixing, because they're not going to make mud. So you can see right now there's a lot of water right here. So the paint is starting to move into the water, and that's what it is with any of these, any kind of paint you use watercolors on. So this is just how I do it. I just kind of smush it a little bit. For the one I made that I already posted, I used a lot more yellow and orange in it. I think I put too much fuchsia down here, so it doesn't matter, because with distress paints, they're acrylics. When they dry, they will not reactivate. They're permanent. Still a little bit wet. I don't like this one blotch right here. To me, it's too thick. Okay, it's not perfectly dry. It's fairly dry. So I'm gonna just go on and add some more colors. So just clean off my brush a bit here and there. You can still see it's a little bit wet. I like to add these layers. I think it adds dimension pretty easily, and I think that the paint looks more interesting, the background looks more interesting because of the layers, where you put it thinly, thickly, maybe splatter a little bit here and there, just kind of let it move a little bit. You could also mist it. If you don't like something, you could also sop it up a bit if it starts getting too puddled near the edges especially. I'm pretty happy with this one right now. I think that looks pretty good. You can kind of see from the other one, I also added splatters. So I'm gonna let this dry. You can let this air dry too. It doesn't have to be heat dried. Just if you want to work on it quickly. Just looking at a couple of these areas where I feel like the paint looks a little thick. Okay, so now I'm going to add the blue and the green, but I want to put a little bit more yellow on because I seem to use a lot of that And I know my favorite green color is this Twisted Citron. It's almost empty. Luckily I have a new one, but I want to use this one up first. So I don't want my paints to mix. So I'm trying to keep them separate there. This one seems to be clogged up. Should have cleaned it. You can tell it's the end of the pile. It's getting a little thick. And then the bluish color that I like is this Peacock Feathers. I think this is my favorite blue color, even in the inks. It's kind of bright. It looks good with that palette. Okay, I went and got some clean water. And then now I'm going to go through it and use the blue and the green colors. I'll show you my picture again. There's a band of yellow here, and then I added green moving into the blue because when I worked on this originally, I think I didn't care that the yellow and the green mixed together. I wanted it to be separate from the pink, but this time I dried it, so I didn't have to worry as much. But it looks pretty good that way, so I'll just add some more yellow here. Now you can see the yellow starts to move where it's wet, and it's not really blending into this orange because it's dry. So then I'm going to start adding the green. The green's a little bit thick, so and I'll add a little water to that. Missed it. So it kind of looks like a big mess at this point, like a child did it, but I think a child probably could do this, but I will show you what I do to kind of make it look a little bit better. So a little mist here, get the paint moving a little bit, mixing together. I think I could have done that a little bit better on the top, but you can see how the water is making the paint move. See, if you add water, it'll start to move and drip and kind of make a little bit more interesting patterns. So you can see here now the blue and the green's mixing a little bit more than I wanted to, so I'm going to step up some of this water. Okay, so some of this moved a little bit here. Just move that around a little bit so it doesn't look so, just soften the edges a little bit. Just see where the water was. I think that's a key with this, is just put the paint down. I mean, the thing with the paint, until you dry it, it's not permanent. And I kind of like how the green is moving into the blue there. Maybe a little bit here. It'd be nice to go the other way. Kind of softens everything, kind of makes it marbleize a little bit. Looks a little bit dreamier too to me. Okay, so Okay, right now I feel like it looks a little bit too much like a rainbow, so I'm gonna try to add some more color so there's not such a clear division. I'm gonna see what color blues I have here. Salvage Patina, and I think I'm gonna use this Mermaid Lagoon. It's a little bit darker than the Peacock Feathers. It's more of a royal blue. So just a little bit of that. Then I just kind of go in. I can just add a little bit of dots here and there, just to kind of liven it up. I just maybe add a dot here and there. I don't know if you've ever seen a photo where a photographer blurs out the background and you could just see, you know, a little bit of color. And in nature, there's all these colors that just kind of fade out. Now it's kind of all mixed on my paintbrush too, which is fine with me because I think I don't want it to look like such a clear division of colors. I just want them to kind of mix together a little bit. Maybe not so much here. Let the water kind of move the colors around so they look kind of dotty. Okay, now it's pretty dry. I like to just go back and kind of add a few dots here and there, just so, I don't know, you don't see the paint. I don't know. I think it's much different when you're just making something and not trying to explain to someone. I just kind of get lost in what I'm doing. So I just go through and I just touch the paint here and there. But right now I'm kind of looking at this one, trying to remember how I did this. Honestly, the best way to do it is just to do it. And don't throw these away, even if you don't like them. Some of my ugliest ones I die cut and they came out to be beautiful flowers, or, you know, use them for the birds, whatever. You'll find that you can use them no matter what. So don't throw them away. And don't forget that it's acrylic paint, so you can always paint over it too if you really, really don't like it. So I just like to go through and just add little dots here and there, just a little bit of texture. It just ends up being interesting. Don't want to put too much water because these paints are already kind of watered. So just kind of go through, and maybe I just add a little texture here and there. You know, maybe you want it to be a little bit brighter in the corner, whatever, a little darker in the corner. But see, if you just go through and you just add little splotches, different ways, don't, you know, kind of turn your paintbrush sometime. Just slightly touch a couple areas here, and it's gonna look good. You know, there's no magic formula to this. It really just is doing it. Just have a good time, and that's really what I do. You know, add a few colors here and there. Try not to overthink everything. Just kind of work in a few of the colors. Already my paint's, you know, drying on that mat because I've been doing this for a while. The blue's all dried up. Plus I have a fan going in here. So that's kind of it. I'll dry this one. Just add a little bit more green. I have too much green on my mat. Don't want to waste that. Maybe I'll just get another piece of paper and work through it. But I'm gonna add some splatters. I'd like to put in a box, splatter a little bit of black or white, whatever you feel like. This one I did some white splatters and I wasn't that crazy about it. There's a couple of real dark ones here that I didn't end up covering up. A lot of this is just real fine black splatters. I did it on the birds a little bit. Not too much. Don't want big splatters because I like the way this background looks. But the splatters do add interest. You could also use some of these colors and splatter them in places too if you want. It'll just give it a more organic look. So I think that's about it. I'm going to let this dry a little bit more, then I'll come back and I'll add some more black splatters. So I wanted to show the card one more time because I think it's really pretty how I used metallic paints on the birds. I die cut the Honeybee Spring birds from the same distress watercolor paper because I knew that I wanted to use watercolors on them. You don't have to do that. You could just die cut colored cardstock or use Copic markers to color the birds, or colored pencils, whatever you want to use. But I wanted to get a little bit of shimmer, so I use these Finetec watercolors. And they're pretty expensive. I got them at Blick. I don't have an affiliate link for that, but you can easily find it online. I know that Altenew also makes a set of metallic watercolors, and I've been real happy with the regular watercolors that I use from them. So the other thing I used for this branch, because there isn't a branch in this set, there's a nest I think that you can get, but I just use this Altenew Itty Bitty Flowers. I just used the branch and I kind of just cut it down a little bit so that it would fit, because I didn't think it was that important. I just cut it from black cardstock. For the sentiment, I really like this. This is an Altenew One Go Birthday Greetings. These come separately. It's one piece, and it's all these birthday sentiments, and then it's a one-piece die that will line up. So I stamped it, I embossed it, and then you die cut it, and then you get all these ready to go sentiments, which I like because I really don't enjoy stamping sentiments, so I just like to have a bunch ready. And so that's what I did here. It looks like I put a little bit of extra cardstock underneath just to make it pop up a little bit, because I didn't, it would look uneven, you know, if I glued it down right on top of this branch. But that's it. That's how I made the card, and I hope that you found it helpful. I know that people asked me about the background, so I didn't really go into how I die cut and made the birds. But it was very straightforward. I just painted them. So I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you next time.